It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day, and it is mid-August in my Vista backyard garden with Sunday Funday. And I know it's hot, but that doesn't mean that we can't garden. All right, find yourself some shade, even if you have to create it with umbrellas or shade sails, or just by whatever means you can. Find yourself some shade. And if you have beloved pots in your garden that you want to protect in the hotter months, like these guys, for example, these two pots came with us from Chula Vista to Vista. I've always loved these pots. I've always loved, planting the crap out of them with, whatever I have on hand. And I sit in the living room and I look out the window and I just smile. They make me so happy. They are not making me happy right now. Some of you may remember that, I think it was May, it was before we went back up to the ranch, I redid these. They were really overgrown. And as I was redoing them, I knew that they were going to take a beating come warm weather, because these sit on, on either side of my patio area here. And they get pretty hammered, and these were all cuttings in May. So I knew that this was probably going to happen. And I got to thinking, you know what? I can provide some protection for these pots in the hotter months. I can find a different place in the garden to put them, to give them a chance. And I also got to thinking, you guys probably have the same situation in your yards too. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's see what's going on here. And I'm curious to see what's rooted, what hasn't rooted, what's rotted, what hasn't rotted, etc., etc. So I'm just going to start gently pulling things out again. And let's see what's up. All right, this little cotyledon here, you can see that it threw off a decent amount of roots since we planted it in May, June, July, August, about 3 months ago, right? So yay, cotyledon. That's great news. This little sedum, look at all of the little roots on that. Isn't that amazing? Since May. I had a feeling that these guys probably had done some rooting. This poor little guy was just kind of laying in here. I mean, kind of butt end up, and even it has thrown off a couple little air roots. So funny. And yes, these pots, the soil is a little damp because I did throw some water on these pots a few days ago with the assumption that things had rooted, so I didn't anticipate that I would be doing any harm. This little aeonium, the little aeonium urbicums, it's got a tiny little root trying to make it right there. But these guys, they close up like this in the summer. I mean, they just do this, and they look like really tight little rosebuds. I love this look so much. I'm so here for that. I've even got a little sunburst in here, aeonium, that it hasn't done anything. It hasn't rooted, but it's really turgid. It's not rotten. I mean, it's here for us, so we'll just set that aside. Let's get the rest of these little guys out, clean them up, check for bugs and stuff while you're at it. More cute little roots on that guy. While I'm at it here, I can clean up detritus. And another thing that is key in this video today is that, digress. Fred Ives, look at all that root. Man, go Fred Ives. So again, May, June, July, August, about 3 months. If that helps you at all to see cutting 90 days later, what's happening with the roots. I'm not interested in going to the nursery and shopping for plants and buying things to redo these pots. I just want to work with what I have. So my goal is to do just that, is to work with the existing plant material that's in here, and if needed, I can pull some cuttings from you can pull cuttings from other pots or other parts of your garden if it's a little light and you want to fluff it out. But I'm not going to be buying anything new or doing anything new. Okay, let's flip this around and go after these little sedums. We're barely making contact with the soil, but we are starting to see some root growth at the base. I'm telling you, this is the most rewarding thing you will do. This is way more fun than cleaning the house. Roots, 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 roots. Ugh, God bless. Okay. All right, moving around to these cute little Aeonium urbicums. One of the tougher of the Aeoniums, in that they will pout like nobody's business in the summer, but they usually won't die unless you water them heavily, and when they don't have roots, and then they can rot. And you know it's rotten because typically this part of the stem is black, and then all the leaves just start to fall off, and then you know you've lost it. But feel it. You know, is it squishy? Nope. Nope, not at all. So I know it didn't stink. I've got a great viable plant here. It's just simply dormant. Now, because this guy has some roots and the other Aeoniums also had some roots, when I move this pot to the shade, what's going to happen is that's going to trick these Aeoniums into waking up. It's going to be cooler in the shade, isn't it? So they're going to think, oh, you know, summer must be over, fall must be here, let's wake up and get on with it, guys. So they will start to open up, they will start to throw off more roots, and then I can water more liberally at that time. Oh yeah, so fun. Getting out all of these spent leaves. I haven't seen any bugs or pests of any kind, or I haven't seen ants or anything gnarly in here, so that's good. Okay, moving on around to this Echeveria gibiflora. Actually, I think this is a Sahara. This was also a pup, or I don't know if it was a pup, but it was, I had cut it and reset it. So, yeah, that threw off a bunch of beautiful, beautiful root ball there. But still, the plant is really stressed. Would so appreciate some shade. Well, your wish is my command, little Sahara. Okay, I'm going to put that there. You know, it was actually Tom Jesh from Waterwise Botanicals in Escondido that introduced the Sahara to the industry. So that is an original hybrid from Tom, that original introduction. So is Petalanthus bracteatus, or bracteus. I'm never sure how to say that, but the Petalanthus was also a plant that Tom introduced to the industry. And I'm sure there are many others too. Okay, now let's get to the granddaddies in here. You know how I've told you many times to be careful when planting aloes in small containers because the roots are so invasive? I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now remember, 3 months, right? These won't get popped in here as cuttings, just like everything else. And it has been 90 days. And let's see what they're doing root-wise. Oh, geez. Yep. Look at this. Look at that. This is why you don't necessarily want to do aloes in, say, gutters, right? Or really tight contained spaces, because the roots just, the roots just take over and choke out everything else. Now in this big bowl, I can totally get away with it because I don't let these run amok either. You know, when they get too big and leggy and overgrown, I'm not afraid to pull everything out, cut it off, and reset it. I've probably done that to these specific Blue Elf half a dozen times. I mean, these have been my thriller in this pot for years. Okay, so I'm going to soften up my soil. If you live in a hostile climate, where it gets, you know, really hot or really cold, or it rains in the summertime, you would definitely want to work with as dry a soil as possible. And you want to have a lot of pumice in the substrate too, to create air pockets so that the soil can dry out quickly in between waterings. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm in the neighborhood, is I'm going to take these roots and I'm going to give them a trim. Trimming plant roots stimulates growth. I mean, not that I really want to stimulate growth. I just, you know, these are a lot of roots and they're long, and I don't want to have to work too hard here. I basically just kind of want to set them back in. But I'm also not a mean person, and I don't want to start over as cuttings in the middle of August. That just seems really cruel and unusual to me. The plant would have to work so hard to recover from that. I'm going to go ahead also and trim back all the tips that are brown or black. You know, this is normal, very normal. Don't even stress if you get a little bit of browning at the tips of your plant. It happens certain times of the year, particularly with the leaves that are the oldest. New leaf doesn't tend to do that. Okay, so it's just housekeeping what I'm doing right now. Just looks a little tidier, a little better. I can get after this too after I've planted the pot if I want. But what happens with, in particular with the blue elf, when it stresses, it turns mauve colored, and you can see it's doing that. It's really, really lovely. I think that's pretty. This one, I mean, it's a simple aloe. It's not fancy or rare, but it is one of my favorites because it's just so easy going. Okay. All right, let's get this back in the pot. Remember, what's the rule? If your succulent stands up, you've done your job. And I'm going to go ahead. You know how I'm always telling you, to the left or right of center? But I'm going to go ahead and plant my blue elf pretty much right smack dab in the middle. Because all the plants that I have that go around it are such different colors, textures, shapes, and sizes that I don't think that it looks contrived at all. But again, this part of the program is very subjective. You do what you want. If you want to put your blue elf over here and build out this way, or you want to break them up, you do you. If you step back and you think, wow, this looks great, I love my pot, then guess what? You've done it right. Okay. I could probably sit here for another 10 or 15 minutes and just trim tiny little pieces of brown off of this. I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add a little more soil. The soil level is a little low. And there's not a whole lot of root and soil on these cuttings. So I don't want these to sink down really low in the pot over the next few months before I, do this again. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to build up the soil. Now I'm just using a garden mix. It's kind of a generic bagged soil that we get from the box store. Nothing fancy. And here in the land of milk and honey, I can totally get away with that. Again, if you're in a more hostile climate, make sure that you're using a cactus and succulent specific mix, or you're mixing with something like perlite or some sort of pumice. Okay. Now you notice that I haven't tamped the soil down really hard. There's no point in doing that because I'm going to be sticking these plants back in and I don't want to have to dig individual holes. The soil is tamped from about here down. All I did was add some loamy, soft stuff around the top. Okay, now let's get this stuff put back in. Now, does it matter if I put it back the way it was originally? No, of course not. So just have fun. I'm going to stick the cotyledon in here, and I am going to sink these a little bit deep because it is getting a little bit of a leg on it. But kind of like with the blue elf, I didn't want to start it over as a cutting in August. That just seemed mean. And, from a design perspective, I like the look. These are yellow, so I'm just taking them off. I like the look of kind of, clumping same type of plants together as much as possible. I think it just looks more, it looks rich. I think it's more visually appealing. Let's get this big old Sahara in here. And I'm packing them in just as tight as I can. Succulents love some good root competition. So don't hesitate to cram them in there with a shoehorn. I'm going to do the little Fred Ives right here in front because I feel like I need something significant to kind of hold this back and prop this up. And then I'll take these adorable aeoniums Shove those in here. And do a little sedums around the front. We want to do the things that are the most visually significant first. In other words, you build out bigger to smaller, right? Higher to lower as you work your way toward the edge of the pot. Because if I plant these sedums back here, they're going to be buried and you're never going to see them. Never going to see them. Sedum. You're never going to see them. Ah, made it funny. Okay. More sedums in here. I'll just do a little clumpy clump. Nice. See? Look at how much fluffier that's looking already. And then I'll do this other little stand of aeonium adjacent to the ones on the other side. But oh, behold. Look at what has happened, guys. I don't have enough plants, do I? After I got everything out, cleaned up, and reset, I've got lots of real estate and no plants. This is what happens. That's all. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. Look at all that dead air. Now, a couple of options here. You could... Oh no, hold on. I got it. Our umbrellas. Are you still filming?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, our umbrellas picked up a little bit of wind and are trying to fall over. Let me fix these. Okay. All right. There we go. Better? Okay. All right. So I took the liberty of grabbing a few cuttings before when I was setting up for the video. This is a really cute, tough little green aloe. Note, no roots. So I thought this would be a good one to stick in because it would take up a lot of space. I also grabbed some little graptosedum, like a spider right on my face. Some graptosedum ghosties. Ghosties, these are tough as nails. So if you're going to work with a cutting in tricky times of the year and you have some ghosties, that would be a great recommendation for me to make to you. Okay, so I'm just clumping these. And there we go. Now, I could use some more, but I also have another one of these aloes. So what if I take out, flip it around for you. In the spirit of working with what I have, what if I take this out and I put this in? Or what if I were to put it in amongst the blue elf? Okay, I think I can get away with that if this one is a little higher than this one. And then I can pop these aeoniums and seed them back in. There's a little crassula ovata right there. That's given me some interesting color and texture. Who doesn't have a bunch of that in their yard? Okay, then let me just grab, because it's close and handy, let me grab a couple ghosties from the other pot, because I really want you to see the difference between the two pots when I'm done. Okay. It is insane the amount of plant material that you need to fill up a pot, isn't it? Okay, I'm gonna step over here and grab a couple of these Setivaria, because this is another really, really tough one. Big fat leaved plants are usually a lot tougher than thinner leafed plants. And I've got so many of these. I'm not gonna miss them over here in the landscape, that's for darn sure. Okay, let's see what we can do with these. Pop these in. I like that blue color against all this green and mauve. Okay. That's really, really pretty. I'm happy with this. Look at that, guys. What do you think? So we compare this pot with this one, this hot mess. You can really see the difference, can't you? In what, just a few minutes and a few... Would you have believed that I would have needed as many cuttings as I did to flush this out? I mean, when I look at this one, it doesn't look like I'm maybe 2 or 3 little plants, but I used 2 big aloes, 3 big sedivarias, and 4 ghosties, and a couple of volunteers from this pot to flesh this out and make this full again. So there you have it. What I'm going to do now is move these pots over to a shady spot in the garden and allow them to just enjoy that break from the heat and the sun for the rest of the summer. This pot I will also do, I'm not going to do it right now because it would make this video way too long, but same principle. And yeah, and then when we do another Walkabout Wednesday, I'll show you where I moved them, and we'll just follow their progress and see how they do in a better location. This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity, reporting from my garden in Vista, California in mid-August. Oh, and also, you guys like broke the internet when we launched the store. We had some technical difficulties, but it is back up. So if you want your DFS merch, go to lauraeubanks.com and get it. This has been me saying goodbye to you. Bye, guys.